Hugo Chavez had a very dramatic entry into Venezuelan politics. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Venezuelan army in 1992 when he headed a coup. His coup was a military fiasco, but it was a propaganda triumph.
Por ahora, los objetivos que nos planteamos no fueron logrados en la ciudad capital. Es decir, nosotros acá en Caracas no logramos controlar el poder. Ustedes lo hicieron muy bien por allá, pero ya es tiempo de evitar más.
In his televised surrender address, Chavez was very crisp and eloquent, and he introduced himself for the first time to the Venezuelan public, and a lot of them fell in love with him on the spot. And upon his release, he then became a politician, and he embraced the ballot box and surged to an insurgency-type campaign victory in 1998 with a very strong democratic mandate. Hugo Chavez will be remembered for having stood up to the United States and for having emboldened other leaders in the region to be more forthright in saying no to the United States, in asserting their own rights, and in a certain rise in nationalist sentiment. To see these countries now much more assertive in their outlooks is, you know, I think has to be a good thing, and it's long overdue.
Que nos veamos como iguales y no este caballero que tienen ustedes de presidente que camina como, ¿cómo se llama el vaquero este? John Wayne, yes, say John Wayne.
Hugo Chavez had a very dramatic impact on poverty in Venezuela. Poverty rates officially have tumbled. They've more than halved under Chavez, which on the surface is a very impressive feat. This was a function really of very lavish spending on social programs, because Hugo Chavez had the great luck that he arrived just in time for an oil boom, an unprecedented oil boom, which poured more or less $1 trillion into the Venezuelan treasury. And he spent this lavishly on social programs in the barrios, and he inflated the state payroll. He created lots of jobs within the government bureaucracy, and he just put more money in people's pockets. So the result was these impressive falls in poverty. Now the catch, however, is that there would have been steep falls in poverty anyway, because under previous booms and busts in Venezuela, poverty always fell during oil booms. Venezuela is above all as a petrostate. And so to what extent poverty would have fallen anyway without Chavez is an open and ultimately unanswerable question. Well, there are some legends about Hugo Chavez. He came from humble means, but not the extreme poverty that subsequently became part of the Hugo Chavez legend. And his private life is always quite mysterious. When he became president, he was already previously married and divorced, and then he had acquired a second wife, Marisabel, and she was physically a striking contrast with him. She was blonde, kind of pale-skinned, almost like a Desdemona type character. And she helped soften his image, because a lot of Venezuelans were concerned about him at the beginning because of his military background. And she had a prominent political role in the early years. In any case, they divorced, and in the early years of Chavez's presidency, after which a veil fell over his romantic life, and Chavez has not really spoken about it. So it's, in a sense, he became married to the revolution in official discourse. His relationship with the foreign media was often quite combative. He would accuse the foreign correspondents, or the foreign media in general, of waging a smear campaign against him and the revolution. I had lobbied the information ministry in Venezuela to be invited onto his weekly television show, Allo Presidente, or Hello President, which is a freewheeling Sunday show that starts at 11 a.m. and can go on till sunset, and which he hires ministers, fires ministers. He can, anything can happen on that show. And I was very curious, so I lobbied, and one time I managed to get on a show which was on a beach on a baking day, and he had his desk planted there on the sand.
También está un periodista británico, es decir, de la Gran Bretaña, Rory Carroll.
So I asked a question which was basically, why did you want to abolish term limits? There was a referendum campaign at the time to abolish presidential term limits. And was there not a risk that this could lead to creeping authoritarianism?
En Europa hay mucho cinismo. Rory, allá en Europa, donde tú eres, la Europa, la culta Europa, y nosotros somos los bárbaros, los indios, los negros, los sudacas. Vaya qué cinismo el de Europa. Chávez, el tirano, Chávez, el caudillo, Chávez, el que se quiere perpetuar, y allá tienen reyes, compadre. ¿Alguien ha elegido reyes?
Later on in the show, he did come back to my question and he did answer it. He said the reason he needed to stay in power or to keep running for office indefinitely was that the revolution was like an unfinished painting, and that he was the artist, and that you do not, in the middle of a painting, hand the brush to someone else, that the artist must finish the painting that he has started. To embrace Hugo Chávez as this champion of social democracy, as somebody who's blazed a path and shown another way, an alternative to other systems, frankly is ridiculous. If you look at the state of Venezuela today, and at the ruin that really is the country, not just economically, but for example socially, the fact that crime has exploded, is out of control, and it's a general sense of anomie that is there. It's ridiculous to suggest that Venezuela is a model. Really what Chávez did, he took all of the traditional Venezuelan ills of oil-fueled populism, and he just ramped them up to a previously unprecedented degree. To posit that as some sort of model for the world is absurd.
Como dijo Abraham Lincoln, ¿qué es la democracia? La democracia no es un sistema a través del cual una élite enriquecida explota a la mayoría empobrecida. No, la democracia debe ser, dijo Abraham Lincoln, gobierno del pueblo, gobierno por el pueblo y gobierno para el pueblo. A eso dedico yo y dedicaré todos los días de mi vida.